Highwaymen, Highwaymen, Highwaymen. That repeating title line, so simple, so relentless, holds 4 deaths and 1 promise of return. Why does that one echoed word make reincarnation sound inevitable instead of just a list of careers? Listen to that repetition in your head for a second, because that's where this story starts.
Welcome back to Ranch Beat. Every country song has a story, and we tell it. I'm James, and today we're digging into Highwayman by Jimmy Webb and the recording that made it a country legend, the Highwaymen supergroup, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Kristofferson, and Willie Nelson, recorded in 1985 in the United States. By the end of this episode, you'll not only know how the lyric works on the page, you'll hear how 4 different voices remade it into a communal myth.
And I'm Sam. I'll drop in with the history and the nuts and bolts when we need it. Quick roadmap, a short origin of the song, a close read of 3 pivotal stanzas, who actually wrote and produced this thing, how the arrangement turned a conceit into feeling, and, because we always do, 1 practical listening exercise so you can hear exactly where identity flips in performance.
Fast facts to bookmark. Jimmy Webb wrote it. The lyric cycles through 4 personae, each one dying and coming back in a new life. And early versions floated in folk circles before the supergroup recording crystallized the idea for a country audience. The Highwaymen's version put 4 icons on 1 track and turned a literary trick into something you can feel in your spine.
A little context, Jimmy Webb made his name in the pop and songwriter world. Think craft first, image-rich songs. The folk to country circulation part matters because narrative songs migrate. A songwriter's telling can be reshaped by different vocal traditions. By the late 80s, the supergroup idea, bringing individual legends together, was a way to make a statement that was both musical and cultural.
Here's the heart of what this lyric does. At first glance, it's a sequence. A highwayman, then a sailor, then a dam builder, then a starship pilot. But that's only half the story. It's not just 4 jobs lined up. The lyric stitches them into one consciousness by repeating the title line, by shifting tense, and by making each voice claim a continuity. I was this, I am that, I will be again. That framing turns separate vignettes into a looped soul.
Let me add a concrete reading. The pronouns change and the verbs move between past and present in ways that make each stanza both self-contained and referential. Also, Jimmy Webb's image choices, the highway, the sea, the river, then the sky, are archetypal transitions that feel like death and rebirth across eras, rather than literal historical accounts.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. In performance, especially when you split lines among 4 vastly different timbres, that tiny grammatical work becomes audible. When Johnny Cash sings a line, his voice brings a weathered, brimmed authority. When Willie floats the next line, it becomes meditative. Chris gives it worn, poet-mystic gravitas. Waylon cuts a ragged outlaw edge. The same words get new lives with each voice, so the lyric's reincarnation idea is reinforced by timbre itself.
Credit notes Jimmy Webb is the songwriter, Verify Publishing in splits through ASCAP or BMI, and the Highwaymen recording credits list the 4 frontmen, and importantly, the producers and session players who shaped the arrangement. When you're preparing a piece like this for broadcast, pull liner notes, reputable interviews, and rights databases to confirm producer and publishing credits before you call anything definitive.
Before this was a hit, it was just an idea in Webb's notebook and in folk circles. Webb's gift is a kind of compressed saga, image-forward, almost cinematic. That means, as a writer, there's a lesson here. If you chain perspectives smartly, you can create an expanded narrator that feels larger than the sum of the stanzas. For songwriters listening, think about repeated refrains that act like stitching, not just hooks.
Production-wise, the Highwayman track is deceptively spare. The arrangement gives space for each voice to land. The decision to assign lines rather than whole stanzas to a single singer and to let harmonies swell on the title line makes the repetition an actionable musical device. Session players, acoustic guitars, light pedal steel, restrained rhythm, kept the texture open so those 4 voices could read the lyric differently without masking each other.
Let's pause and do a focused, close read. I'll walk you through 3 pivotal stanza moments and what to listen for. I won't quote long passages, just enough so you can follow the structural moves. First, the opening persona. Listen for a declarative present tense voice that declares agency, the I was a move, that already points backward and forward. Second, a middle stanza that switches rhythm and image. There, the verb tense softens and the image narrows. Third, the last life, the astral turn, where future and metaphor blur and the chorus line comes back like a benediction. Each of these points shifts identity by phrasing, punctuation, and where the title line re-enters.
On credits and sourcing, Webb's songwriting credit is standard, but publishing splits and arrangement credits can be messy with supergroups. Producers sometimes add arrangement points that alter how a lyric is delivered. For example, a producer might suggest splitting lines or changing harmonies. To be safe, flag any unresolved credits in your show notes and point producers to the ASCAP BMI entries and original album liner notes for final confirmation.
A couple of studio anecdotes that illustrate how fragile and human these sessions are. The idea of the Highwaymen was very much a logistics puzzle, scheduling 4 busy artists, deciding who sings which line, and making sure their egos and artistic instincts actually served the song. The label wasn't guaranteed to love the idea at first. The track had to earn its place through the strength of the performance. The label hated it, the fans loved it. The kind of tension that often makes something memorable.
Reception-wise, critics and fans treated the single as a curious experiment that worked because of the singers involved and because the conceit was simple and resonant. Live, the song took on new meanings depending on which voice led a verse. Audiences filled in the narrative gaps because the performers' public personas brought extra layers. Cash's outlaw gravitas, Willie's wistful humor, Chris's poetic roughness, Waylon's rueful swagger.
Music notes in plain English. The track stays in a comfortable key for those voices, uses open fifths and simple chord motion so melody sits on top, and reserves harmony swells for the title line. The arrangement pivot, the moment where harmony thickens on the repeating phrase, is the audio cue that signals reincarnation. That small production move tells listeners, pay attention. This line is the glue. All right, here's a guided listening exercise you can do at home. If you have the Highwayman recording available, play just one verse sequence. No instrumentals, no chorus. First pass, listen for who takes the first line and notice how that voice frames the image. Second pass, listen to the same stanza but focus on where the repeated title line lands and whether the harmony thickens. If you can't get the clip cleared, do this fallback. Imagine the stanza in your head and read the lyric aloud. Then read it assigning it to different voices, deep, thin, breathy, nasal, and you'll still hear how voice identity reshapes meaning.
Producer note on clearances. Using the original master requires a mechanical and sync clearance for audio clips in most cases. Short excerpts may still need permission. If licensing takes too long, use narrated excerpts, read the stanza yourself, or produce a short recreated instrumental with host narration. Flag which clips you want early and keep a fallback narration script ready so the listening exercise still lands.
To wrap up, one concrete listening habit to carry home. Each time a lyric repeats, ask yourself 2 questions. Who is saying it now, and what does their voice add to the meaning? That small habit turns reprises from background wallpaper into narrative turning points. Next time you hear a reprise, you'll never hear that song the same way again. We talked a lot about credits, craft, and how performance can rewrite a lyric. If you're a writer or producer, think about where you can let voices do the heavy lifting instead of over-explaining in the lyric. If you're a listener, look for those production cues that make repetition matter.
Thanks for listening. That was a close walk through Highwayman, how a compact lyric, smart arrangement, and 4 distinct voices turned a sequence of lives into a shared myth. We kept the sourcing tight. Jimmy Webb as writer, Highwaymen as performers, and producer and liner note checks recommended for final credits.
If you liked this deep dive, help us out. Subscribe to Ranch Beat, leave a rating, and tell us in the comments which country song we should unpack next. Any country except Thailand. Share a lyric that messed with you the first time you heard it. Every suggestion helps us keep doing this. Every country song has a story, and we tell it.